Hey, Day Pikomuria Zimbabwe, hola, Zimbabwe Moshe. If you're tuning in right now, you're tuned into LiveTalk The Connection, brought to you by Studio 7 Voice of America on Tuesday, 1 June 2021. Muria Zimbabwe, Twagazo Moshe. I'm your host, Mike Hove. Once again, Muria Zimbabwe, if you're tuning in right now, welcome wherever you're in the world. You're tuned into The Connection. We're coming to you live from our studios in Washington, D.C. on June 1, 2021. Tonight on The Connection, Muria Zimbabwe, we speak to youth in Kwekwe as we continue focusing on the COVID-19 pandemic. Once again, we speak to youth in Kwekwe about the COVID-19 lockdown in the city. Now, following the detection of the Indian variant in Kwekwe is now approached week 2 of the COVID-19 lockdown. Now, tonight we're also going to be spotlighting the works of young Zimbabweans who are doing amazing work in their different communities. That's our tonight's discussion. But now, as we wrap up, we have something special for you tonight. We're going to be joined by recording artist Pablo Cartel, who recently released his new single titled Ngifuna Wena. Join us, Muria Zimbabwe. If you're looking to join us, you can call us live on air, and the studio number is +1 202 619 2077. For those that are streaming this conversation live on Facebook, kindly share the program with your networks. Also remember to press the like button. You are with us, Nasim Chirongwa Sisonke, like so. Njalo libukele uhlelo. Also feel free to write the comments in the comments section. We're going to be reading them live on air. Now, without wasting time, Muria Zimbabwe, let us delve into it. Tonight's discussion. First up, an update on COVID-19. Now, according to the most recent information released by the Ministry of Health and Childcare, Zimbabwe currently has 38,961 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 36,591 recoveries, and 1,596 deaths. Last night alone, 1,638 PCR tests were conducted, 17 new cases were detected, 3 recoveries, and 2 deaths. Of those 2 deaths, 1 is in Bulawayo and 1 is in Manicaland. The country currently has 771 active COVID-19 cases. To date, 675,678 people have taken the COVID-19 vaccine. 344,400 have taken both the first and the second jab, which means both are vaccinated. Now, whilst on the discussion of the vaccine, the Zimbabwean government has recently released more COVID-19 updates on their digital pages, that being on Twitter and on Facebook. They also have been running these updates on both radio and television. Let us take a look at the most recent clip that they have prepared, whereby they explain more about what it means to achieve herd immunity. The next clip you're about to watch is courtesy of the Ministry of Health and Childcare's Facebook page.
What is herd immunity? Picture a community or herd of healthy people. During an outbreak of infectious disease, vaccinated members are immune and will remain healthy. The higher the number of immune people in that community, the lesser the disease can spread. This essentially breaks the cycle of transmission. When enough people in the community are immune, the rest are protected by proxy, establishing herd immunity or herd protection. We know that COVID-19 spreads through close contact, making crowded areas potentially deadly. But when some members of the crowd have immunity, that changes. COVID-19 vaccines train our immune systems to resist the COVID-19 virus and reduce the chances of it spreading. As more people gain immunity by vaccination, the number of infected people diminishes. The Ministry of Health and Childcare Zimbabwe is aiming to achieve herd immunity by vaccinating 60% of the population. COVID-19 vaccinations are being rolled out in phases, starting with high-risk groups until all eligible people are vaccinated and protected. Using the Zim COVID Safe app, you can locate COVID-19 testing and vaccination centers across Zimbabwe. This app will allow you to access their contact details, working hours, and addresses. The Zim COVID Safe app is one of the official COVID-19 news and updates app for Zimbabwe, and it's free and secure. Download it today on Google Play or App Store. This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Childcare Zimbabwe with the generous support from Chicken Inn, Revive and Bakers Inn.
Well, Maria, Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from the Ministry of Health and Childcare. But now the COVID-19 vaccine in Zimbabwe has slowly started being embraced with people, with cities such as Victoria Falls now achieving herd immunity. In fact, as we speak, there's a number of people who have reported that they are having difficulties accessing their first jab of the COVID-19 vaccine, not a result of them not wanting to, but they're also being turned away from hospitals on grounds that they do not have enough vaccines for the first jabbers. Let us take a look at a clip that we have of Dr. Mudzengerere, who spoke to one of our correspondents in Mashonaland West today.
Saka Zimbabwe ine ma vaccine 3, Sinopharm, Sinovac neCovaxin. Zvakaitika ndezvekuti vanhu vaibaiwa wakasiyana siyana, ma first dose nema second dose. Semenzaniso, munhu anobaiwa first dose muno muchinoi. Paanozosvika kuti abaiwe second dose anenge akuharare, obaiwa kuharare. Sa izvozvo zvakacreate shortage because munhu aibaiwa kwanga asina kuwana first dose yake. Sa zvaireva kuti maclinic kwakabaiwa first dose okwakubaiwa second dose vanoshoterwa nemushonga. Saka tikuona kuti pa mushonga yeCovaxin neSinovac tikushoterwa nesecond dose. Ndosaka takamira kubaya vanhu first dose yeCovaxin neSinovac. Asi news dzatinazo ndezekuti Sinopharm tanayo tirikupa maclinics edu kuti vaya vada kubaiwa first dose iripo Sinopharm vanokwanisa kuenda kumaclinic nepachipatara pedu vobaiwa first dose yavo iri Sinopharm. Sezvo tine yakawanda haisi kushota sedzimwe two dzandataura idzi.
Well, Maria, Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from Dr. Mudzengerere, who was speaking on the shortage. So as you heard him there, it looks like there's what is a shortage of vaccines in Zimbabwe, regardless of whether people or not want to take the vaccines. But now there are also still some people who are very hesitant to take the vaccine. The story of the vaccine hesitancy is not unique to Zimbabwe. It is being experienced across the whole globe. Let us look at an explainer recently done by VOA on vaccine hesitancy and herd immunity.
When polling firm Gallup asked Czechs whether they would get vaccinated against COVID-19, 53% said no. In Senegal, 55% said no. And in Jordan, 62%. In most of the countries Gallup surveyed, the proportion of people who said they would be vaccinated was below 70%. That's the lowest percentage of the population that scientists think needs to have immunity in order to stop the virus from spreading. It's a state called herd immunity, where the virus has a hard time finding new people to infect. Vaccination is the safest way to get there. Where vaccine hesitancy is highest, it may be about more than just the COVID-19 vaccine itself.
I think the number one thing we have seen from our work is essentially trust in government. That seems to be a strong predictor with regards to intention to get a vaccine.
Take countries such as Ukraine, Gabon, and Lebanon. In a 2018 Wellcome survey, most people there said they did not trust their government. Those countries also have majorities who said they will not take the COVID-19 vaccine. In all, Gallup found 20 countries where more than half the population said they won't take the vaccine. 10 of them are in Eastern Europe. That partly reflects people's attitudes there towards vaccines in general. In that 2018 Wellcome survey, only half of Eastern Europeans considered vaccines safe. That's the lowest rate in the world. These high rates of hesitancy are a warning for health officials, but they do change. When Gallup polled Americans last September, 50% said they would not get vaccinated, but that number fell to 26% by March.
A small proportion of the population here in the United States that is fundamentally and philosophically opposed to vaccines. So it's a very small proportion. We then have a good chunk of the population that's pro-vax, but the majority of people in the United States are what we would call this movable middle, i.e. they're ambivalent and they just need a nudge in the right direction.
One of the biggest nudges is seeing other people get vaccinated. Take this Kaiser Family Foundation poll. In December, when COVID-19 vaccines first arrived, more people said they would wait and see than those who said they would get the shot as soon as possible. From December to April, as more people got vaccinated, the wait and see group shrank from 39% to 15%. But getting hardcore skeptics on board is not easy. It has to be done on a local level, Lemaye said, sometimes person to person.
It has to be from individuals that people trust. This has to be community-based leaders, for example. Religious leaders are a key part of this solution. Other community influencers at the community level are really, really important here. It is a lot of hard work. It's not something that's going to be done very quickly and very easily.
All right, well, Muria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there, they're explaining more about what it means to achieve herd immunity, something very relevant towards Zimbabwe's discussion right now. But now, earlier on, I mentioned that tonight we're going to be focusing on Kwekwe as a city. So joining us live via telephone from Kwekwe is Admo Sibanda, a resident of Kwekwe, who's going to break down and explain more to us about what is happening in the city. Admo, welcome to the program. How are you doing, bud?
I'm fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Let's delve into it, Mr. Sibanda. We'll start off with how things are looking in Kwekwe. The city has now reached week 2 under lockdown. What are things looking like there?
Yeah, we are on week 2 lockdown. As you know, as you are aware, lockdowns are not easy. Mm-hmm. It's kind of difficult when you're on lockdown. We've just been coming from a total lockdown that started in January, mm-hmm. and business was low, and people were surviving very hard. So now things are starting to pick up, but now we are on another lockdown, so things are not that well. Things are difficult, mm-hmm. because it's bad.
And how are residents processing this lockdown? Last week, we spoke to some people who were saying people seem to understand that there's a lockdown in Kwekwe. Some say they understand that there's a lockdown in Kwekwe, but they're still seeing people not respecting lockdown regulations. How are people respecting the lockdown now that the city itself has reached, I guess, the second week under lockdown?
Yeah, this lockdown, when it came, mm-hmm. At first there was news that was circulating on the social media. Then the government dismissed it as fake news. So when the official communication came from the ministry, there was already some confusion on the market about what's the proper position. Mm-hmm. So people got confused by that. Mm-hmm. But now the other thing that is there is that this lockdown is kind of different from the other lockdowns in that business is operating from 8 to 5. Mm-hmm. Then there is a curfew that starts around 7, and then the next in the morning. Mm-hmm. So yes, people come into town, but that's because there's that thing in the mind that there is a lockdown. Activities just low and the environment is
mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk a little more about your profession, Mr. Sibanda. You are part of the informal sector in Zimbabwe, so I'm a little more curious about that. During the first lockdown, your group was one of the most affected people from a financial standpoint. Now Kwekwe is under another lockdown. How are people who are part of the informal sector surviving in the city right now? Yeah,
it's kind of very difficult in the sense that the informal sector survives on the flow of people. Because when people move in numbers, at least you've got chances of getting volumes of sales. Mm-hmm. But when the movement is restricted, then it means that your sales they are just reduced drastically, because mm-hmm. we rely on the movement of people. So now with this lockdown, there is that the people in Kwekwe are locked down. Then people from outside Kwekwe, they are not like at liberty to be coming into Kwekwe because they were cautioned not to stay for a long time in Kwekwe. Mm-hmm. So that inflow of people into Kwekwe is reduced. So mm-hmm. it affects the business is very high. Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk a little more about the, I guess, your workflow. we know when things slowly or slightly opened up in Zimbabwe, one of the things that was, I guess, placed upon the informal sector is that you have to take all necessary precautions to ensure that, you know, your area or where you work is COVID free. That means you have to have a mask, you have to have water for people to wash their hands, and so much more. These are things that some people are saying is costly. So I'm a little curious about yourself in your personal capacity. How are you functioning under these times?
Okay. Yeah, the thing that's happening, sanitizers, yes, people have got sanitizers. Maybe we didn't know how genuine the sanitizers are, but at least sanitizing people is happening. Then people have got thermometers. At least in that sense, those are the precautions that are there. And people, yes, they have their masks. Majority of the people, they wear their masks. I think in terms of that operation, yes, sanitizers are there. And thermometers, maybe in some areas, they are there, and the mask people here do wear their masks.
Now, I want to talk a little more about enforcement of these lockdown regulations. Last week, we had another young gentleman who's also in Kwekwe who he was saying in week 1, he's yet to see, for example, lockdown regulations being heavily enforced by the police like it did in the first previous lockdowns. Now, here comes week 2. You yourself mentioned that a lot of members of the informal sectors are still working within the working periods. How are you guys, what's the relationship looking like between you guys and law enforcement right now?
Yeah, currently the relationship that is there is that we have the law enforcement agencies moving around at times. I would say this time they haven't been moving that very much. But now the challenge that is there is when they move around. They may check people, but they end up asking for bribes. Maybe should I say that's the most common feature that we see. We see people being taken, but at times they never reach the station. They come back, but the movement at times they just move and they stop and they move again. It's just erratic.
Now, Mr. Sibanda, once again, and I like to refer to conversations that I've had with other people so I can also hear your experiences. In other cities, I've spoken to young people who are part of the informal sector about their experiences with other people, especially working under a time whereby there's COVID-19 in the country. And they were saying they've had experiences where people approach their stalls and they refuse to abide by these lockdown regulations about mask, about izandla and all that. In your circumstances, have you experienced such? And if you have, what is the best way to deal with such people? Money first, so I try to deal with this person no matter.
Yeah, maybe this thing about mask. There are some people who are just like that. Other stuff on the don't sanitize, and even no points at the door where you put people who do sanitize. They are rude. They just feel that they want to be fair. But I think what can help is if the law is enforced properly. At least, if I'm arrested, I'll get into trouble. People might follow our rules. But if someone knows which I'm taking but very unserious patient, I'll just break my way out and come back. Definitely people will not take these things, some of these things serious. So now I think the law enforcement agencies should be strict on these things, especially when it's endangering abantu. There are chances of having these things, which can break his way out, yet at the same time endangering the whole population or the whole workplace.
Says Kangela, the discussion around funds. As you mentioned yourself, you're not working at normal full capacity, not just because of the lockdown, but even after the past lockdown, people are not as excited ukungena edolobheni. And so I'm a little curious about that from a financial standpoint. Are you guys making enough money to get by?
No, we are not making enough money to get out, because the challenge with this lockdown is that when you are renting a place, the rentals are still the same even during lockdown. The bills in Avenue Council, they are still the same. If it's Vesa, it's still the same. So your bills are still the same, but yet business is very low. So coping up in this time is very difficult. You end up even to getting credit to maintain your place because you want to be there, but business-wise, you are very down.
Kukhona osekwenziwe nguhulumende na to help you guys abakumsebenzi wezandla abaziphandelayo?
No, uhulumende sake sabala amaphephandaba. Kuthiwa kulezi mali ezikhona ezama-SMEs lizabhaliswa. Then abanye abantu babhalisa, but now we never got a chance because it wasn't clear ukuthi kuhamba njani. And even ababhalisayo bangikhona, I don't think up to date kulo muntu owathola something. Even the abanye bebhalise, I understand even the money was too little. If ever people were given it, it was too little to cover even ama expenses are essential. That's too little, but I think SMEs amaningi akula muntu owahlala leyo mali. Lapho ngiyibala ema-newspapers indaba yangikhona kodwa siyananda.
So Mr. Sibanda, asithinteni udaba lolu ngolimi lukamama ngamafishane ngoba we have an entire Ndebele audience. Abafisa ukuzwisisa ukuthi kahle kahle nina kwele Kwekwe, how are you guys surviving phansi kohlelo lwe-lockdown? So bengicela ukuthi ubachasisele ukuthile ukuthi kahle kahle liphila kanjani phansi kohlelo lwe-lockdown njengoba selingenile ku-week 2.
Thina kathesi eKwekwe ngathi kulobunzima obuthize ngoba i-lockdown ikhona njengokukhulunywa okwenziwayo. Abantu bayangena edolobheni ngoba kwavunyelwa ukuthi abantu bengene 8 to 5. Kodwa ngendaba yokuthi i-Indian variant leyabakhuluma ngayo iyesabisa. Abantu babona imfanekiso elizweni lase-India. So ukuthi abantu bengene nje edolobheni, hayi abanye abantu besaba sibili. So i-movement ikhona, but it's a bit slow.
Indaba yemali ke liyithola njani njengoba uyasho ukuthi abekho abantu abaningi abangena edolobheni?
Endabeni yemali lapha ayithi i-business liphansi. Into leyo ngathi maybe chase ngithi kube kabili kumbe kube kathathu into leyo. Lapha thina saba le-lockdown total lockdown ekasa umnyaka uqalisa ngoJanuary. Yasithova. Then sithe siphakathi kwe-lockdown leyana ingakapheli kwaba le ndaba yokuvulwa kwezikolo. Izikolo sezivuliwe zathatha imali ebantwini ngoba thina ngathi ama-customers ethu ngabantu abantu bona laba abaphilayo elizweni leli. So bathathelwa imali ngama-school fees, ama-uniform, into eziningi ezazifunakala ukuthi abantu ababuye besikolo. Then siphakathi apho abantu bengakarekhazi njalo kwase kubuya manje le-lockdown esesihlangane ngayo leyo. Vele ngathi kuphume ebunzimeni singena bunye ebunzimeni. So ngathi siphakathi kwebunzima. So i-disposable income lani imali yokuthi umuntu akwanise ukuyisebenzisa, hayi abantu bale mali elifana kanye ibhizinesi leliphansi.
Right, so sifika emaphethelweni of our conversation, Mr. Sibanda. If you had any words to give a government in terms of assisting you guys, njengabantu abakumsebenzi wezandla, what would those words be?
Mina bengingafisa ukuthi uhulumende ancedise i-informal sector ngokuthi maybe city by city or province by province kube transparent, abantu bekwanisa ukuthi be-apply la ama-funds bewathole i-process yangikhona i-transparent ingela ukuthi umuntu usupporta liphi bandla ngaba ngenze politics umuntu unesima kanjani ku-society kodwa kube ngokunceda abantu ngoba abantu bonke baphakathi kwalamabhizinisi ngoba employment akula abantu vele baziphilisa ngakhona imisebenzi yezandla sangathi amafanzi abe available kungabi lobandlululo kungabi lokukhangelwa ukuthi lo ngubani uvela ngaphi kodwa abantu bancede ekwanisa ukuzifika.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. Edmo Sibanda, for taking time out to join us on our program tonight. We really appreciate your input, and once again, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we wish you the best in Kwekwe.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Well, Muria Zimbabwe, you are hearing there from Edmo Sibanda. He's, of course, a part of the informal sector. He's a resident of Kwekwe. He was breaking down how they're surviving in Kwekwe. Now, at Studio 7, we reached out to medical expert Dr. Tinotenda Smemeza to give us his input on the vaccination program in Zimbabwe and, of course, most importantly, the detection of the Indian variant in Kwekwe. Let us hear what Dr. Smemeza had to say.
Izvi zvinhu zvatatambira zvikuru zvekuti besera kuti population yedu ikwanise kuvaccinatwa tikwanise kuprotectana from this coronavirus and so that we fit its in my infections ari munharaunda dzatinogara kuitira kuti aite mashoma uyezve kuti tisawanikwe tichiwana the worst of the disease kana kuti chirwere chisazoti affecta maningi kana uchinge wachiwana. Saka izvi zvinhu zvatiri kukurudzira enge tinokurudzira mhuri yeZimbabwe kuti irambe yakadaro ichitora nhumba iyi. Zvisinei kuti ivariant ipi yekuIndia, yekuSouth Africa, yekuUK, mashoko ndiwawo ekuti tinofana kuramba takashinga tichipfeka mamaski edu, tichisanitizer, tichigeza maoko edu, tichimaintaina social distancing as long as chirwere ichi tichinacho sezvazviri. Tinofana kuramba takadaro tichitevedzera maguidelines ari kutaurwa neMinistry of Health kuti tizvidzivirire kuti tisakwanisa kuwana coronavirus. Saka panhau yevariant iri kubva kuIndia hatisati tanatsoistadha kuti tinatsoziva kuti is it more dangerous than variants atange tichiexperience because there are certain conditions ari kuIndia anokwanisa kunge ari kucontributa mukuaffectwa kuri kuitwa vanhu nechirwere checoronavirus. Akadarikira kuti kune population yakati wandei uyezve nyaya dzepollution, nyaya dzekushayikwa kweoxygen, inyaya dzakawanda wanda. Saka hatisi kunatsoziva isusu pare zvino whether iri nyaya yevariant here kana kuti inyaya yemaconditions ari kuIndia.
Well, Zulu kandaba liyamuzwa uDr. Tinotenda Simemezo uyachasisa ngempela umbono wakhe njengengcwethi kwezempilakahle esithi hayi lokho kwenzakalayo eIndia uyasho ngempela uyakhuthaza uZulu ukuthi qhubekani phambili lihlonipha imithetho ekhona ejonge ukuvikela ukumemetheka kweCovid-19 so qhubekelani phambili ligeza izandla uyasho ngempela ukuthi social distancing something very important uyasho ngempela ukuthi hayi it doesn't matter ukuthi i-variant le yakwele India isifikele kwele Zimbabwe uyasho ngempela ukuthi if people continue abiding by these lockdown regulations if people continue abiding by these regulations ezikhona elizweni ezijonge ukumemetheka ukuvikela ukumemetheka kweCovid-19 hayi abantu will be safe and sound uyasho ngempela uthinte njalo udaba sithi people should not worry about the Indian variant because they're still trying to figure it out as Zimbabwe. They're not sure as to whether or not this variant will be as deadly as it is in India. A lot of contributions could have added to this country. For example, in India, the population naturally, there's a lot more people, and so people react differently. But now let's head over to my second guest joining me live via telephone from Harare. He is the executive director of VISET, Mr. Samuel Wadzai. Mr. Wadzai, welcome to the program. So how are you doing?
I'm good, my brother. Thank you for having me.
Toto Tendaimi, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. So COVID-19, that's the discussion that we're looking to focus on. I know as Viset, you guys had a lot of programs where you are not just helping your members, but communities around you with regards to COVID-19. So let's start off there. Could you kindly walk us through some of these programs that you guys have as Viset?
Thank you so much, my brother. I must accept that this is a very important discussion. So as Viset, we took it upon ourselves to initiate a response plan to the COVID-19 pandemic. Immediately after the initial lockdown was promulgated by the government, we launched what we call the COVID-19 Informal Sector Response Initiative. So this initiative encompassed a lot of activities, a lot of interventions that are very aimed at ensuring that our members are able to cope with the effects of COVID-19. So we targeted the markets, we targeted the various spaces that our members were operating from. And firstly, what we did was to ensure that our members have got sufficient information about what really COVID is about. What does it entail? How does one contract the virus, and how does one spread the virus? So we did these awareness raising campaigns in all the major towns and cities, including Harare, Bulawayo, working in collaboration with our colleagues there, BVTA, Mutare, Mashingo, Gweru, and other towns, including even Gold Point. So the aim here was to ensure that our members appreciate the dangers that COVID really was posing at that point in time, because there was a lot of misinformation around all the disease was spreading. So we did those awareness campaigns and ensure that our members are able to appreciate the threat that it was causing, not only at an individual personal level, but even in terms of doing business as informal traders. And then secondly, we also ensured that we assisted our members who were privileged enough to continue to operate. I think, as you may be aware, my brother, when the initial lockdown was promulgated by the government, not everyone was blocked from working. There were other traders who were, privileged enough to continue to operate. So we visited those spaces and ensure that we distribute the small PPEs that we have, the health packs that we had, including sanitizers, face masks, and at some point I think we were also distributing even gloves and soap. So we did this in Harare, in Masingo, Peru, Bridge, and Bulawayo. We thought that it was important for us to just do that, though it was small, but it was a demonstration of our willingness to assist our members. Then lastly, we continued to engage with the government to ensure that they should be coming in to the market and supporting formal traders who were operating, because we witnessed a lot of relax, what can I say, there was no concrete plan from local authorities and government to support informal traders during the lockdown. And we were at the forefront of pushing the government to ensure that informal traders get the support that they deserve. Look, we were getting a lot of food donations and, being paraded during the, news at ZBC and the Herald and other state media, that the country was getting a lot of donations, whether it was PPEs or other essential health techs. But we did not see the same being channeled to informal traders, and we were pushing as an organization to say, let's get these items to traders because they are essential service providers. The informal sector is employing over 90% of the population, so we need to support them during this difficult time. So these are some of the initiatives that we conducted during lockdown and through the informal sector comprehensive response plan that we initiated.
Now, I want to delve deeper into the engaged government part that you just mentioned. You know, even post lockdown, of course, Kwekwe is still under lockdown, which is what I want to delve into later with you. But post lockdown, I've spoken to several different informal traders and other organizations that represent members of the informal sector, such as BVTA. And one thing they highlighted is people are still struggling post the lockdown, even though the country's reopened. A lot of people suffered over the past year and a half, if not more. So has government continued to engage? I know at some stage and point there's some people who received funds. Since then, what does it look like?
No, let me state it from the onset, my brother. I think the government should do more. Look, COVID did not only affect Zimbabwe. Every country was affected by Zimbabwe. But if we do a comparison of how the government responded to this pandemic in terms of assisting the informal economy, you realize that our government is lagging in terms of supporting the informal economy. We don't know why, because there have been a lot of promises. You are saying you visited Bulawayo and Gwanda and other places. And the situation is the same, I can confirm to you, even in Harare. There were a lot of promises that were put forward by the government to say that they were going to support the informal economy during this difficult time. We were made to go to our members to revamp our databases so that in anticipation that the government was going to give some cushioning funds to informal traders who could not go to the market and operate and make money and survive. But this did not materialize. If there is anyone who got that money, it's a very, very small portion of the population of the informal economy. So what we are saying is, we said, because we are a national organization, what we are saying is that the government should do more. There should be deliberate interventions by the government, because other countries have managed to do that. South Africa, for example, informal traders are getting grants, to survive during lockdowns. In Namibia, for example, we have got a Visit Namibia chapter. We know what was happening in Namibia. Our members were really happy with the interventions that the government in that country put forward. Zambia, the same thing. But here, there are all promises. Very, rosy, the very, nice-looking promises on paper. But when it comes to implementation, then it's problematic. But it's something that should be dealt with quickly, because, like I indicated, my brother, Zimbabwe is a highly, highly informalized. We are second in the world. We are second only to Bolivia in terms of informality. But we are last in terms of supporting the informal economy. There is a misnomer there. We need to correct that.
So I am a little curious, Mr. Wadzai. We've also spoken to some, government officials who have said they are urging anyone that is struggling to approach the relevant ministries, for example, the Ministry of Social Welfare, and then there's also the Ministry of Youth, that are saying if people approach them, they're more than willing to help in different manners, different programs that are set up. Is this something that you're educating your people on, or are there people that have tried? What's going on there?
Look, my brother, I think we need to just be open to each other. As we said, we believe that by engaging with the authorities, we will be better placed to find the solutions quickly on issues that affect our members. I can assure you, we are an organization that believes in constructive engagement. And we've done that since inception. We are over 10 years old now as an organization, and we believe in that. This idea of lying, I don't think it will take us anywhere. It's a common knowledge that the government, when they promulgated or when they pronounced the cushioning fund, it did not materialize. Every informal trader knows that. There are very few people who manage to benefit from that. And what we can appreciate as an organization is a situation where the government comes to us and says, look, guys, we had challenges in implementing this cushioning fund. And the challenges were 1, 2, 3, 4. How do we improve, the situation going forward? To come and lie to say that people were receiving money or to want to pretend that we are not coming forward to get those funds as informal traders, it's really unfortunate. No one can decide not to come where there is a helping hand being extended to them. It's unacceptable. It's something that no one can take. And I think these are the same tactics that we have been seeing over the years, where government, especially through local authorities, they try to hide behind their finger to say informal traders are not doing this. This is why we are not doing this. I think with COVID, there are no excuses. We don't have time for excuses. Let's just implement the programs that we have put in place. This is the first point that I'm making. Then the second point is that, yes, we also need to do more as informal trader associations to educate our members about the programs that the authorities are putting forward. But I think from our perspective as a research, we have done that. As I'm speaking to you right now, I'm actually in Gweru. I'm not in Harare. I'm actually in Gweru, where we were engaging with the Gweru City Council on issues associated also to COVID and how we can ensure that we level the playing field and ensure that everyone who is supposed to benefit from the resources that we have at a local authority level, the resources that we have at a national level, benefit through ensuring that they have information about those products that are coming from the government and all its agencies.
Now, Mr. Wadzai, ngatimbozeyai nyaya nerurimi rwamai tichitarisa zviri kuitika kukwekwe uko. Tiri kuona kuti Kwekwe pari zvino iri pasi pechirongwa chelockdown. Tambotaurawo neumwe anoita mabasa emaoko. Vakati aiwa ivo sevanhu vanoita mabasa emaoko vari kungoendera mberi neupenyu as though it's normal kunge kusina lockdown, nokuti vazhinji vari kutsvaga mari, and vakaongorora mitemo iripo yelockdown, it means you're most likely going to operate at a loss. Munozvionawo sei zviri kutaura nevanhu, nekuti akasi kekutanga ndichinzwa munhu anoita basa remaoko vachi uttering masentiments akadaro.
Aiwa, isusu seboka chokutanga chatingataura mukoma ndechekuti zvirongwa zvinoitwa nehurumende kuburikidza nebazi rezveutano zvekudzivirira kupararira kwechirwere checovid tinozvitsigira nokuti covid takaiona kuparadza kwayakaita upenyu, kuparadza kwayakaita even kuchinja mararamiro atinoita sevanhu yakachinja, and chirwere chokuti tose tofanira kunge tishandira pamwe chete tichionesana kuti togadzirisa sei, tochidzivirira sei. Asi isusu seboka tinenge tisingabvumirani neurongwa hwekuti malockdown anongoiswa vanhu vasina kuparurirwa nyaya idzi. Handiti maitikiro akaita nyaya yokukwekwe hatina kufara nawo seboka. Ndofunga ndosaka muchiona kuti mamwe mamembers edu ari kukwekwe ikoko ari kuramba kuti haasi kuteerera lockdown iyoyo. Hakusi kuti nokuti havazive kuti covid chirwere chinoparadza upenyu, but inyaya yekuti kana usina kuparurirwa kuti chirega kuenda kubasa nenhau yakadai 1, 2, 3 zvinoita senge uringokanganiswa raramo yako. Ona munomai vangu vazhinji vevanhu vari kurarama izvozvi muZimbabwe vari kurarama kuburikidza nokupinda mustriti nokutengesa zviviri zvitatu. Dzinokangogurwa kunzi chitoregera kuenda kunoshanda pasina reason ine udzamu yakakora somukaka yokuziva kuti ndoregere kundoshanda. Unoita senge wangobviswa pabasa pako nemunhu anoda kungokanganisa raramo yako. Saka ibasa rehurumende, ibasa remalocal authorities kumeka sure kuti mamembers edu kana kuti malocal authorities handitika anopa ruzivo kuvanhu kuti zvatakuita lockdown tiri kuitira 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Maitikiro akaita zvinhu zvokukwekwe nesu hatina kunge tichifara nazvo, though tichiziva kuti malockdowns anotibatsira kuderedza kupararira kwechirwere, but maitikiro akaita kukwekwe zvaita senge kumbunyikidza vanhu kumanikidza vanhu kuti senge pane imwe nyaya yanga isinei necovid yanga isingasvika muine vagari.
Zvino tichipeta edu hurukuru yedu vaWadzai, ndeapi mashoko amungada kukandira kune vanoita mabasa emaoko vari mukwekwe pari zvino vasiri kuremekedza mutemo welockdown nekuti vari kutsvaga raramo, vari kutsvaga mari yekuti vakwanise kuendera mberi neupenyu?
Aiwa, isusu tinoti seboka yadeuka tinoziva kuti maitirwo akaitwa nyaya ine hurumende hatiwirirana nawo sevhiseti but kana pane chokwadi chokuti chirwere chiri kupararira tinokurudzira mamembers edu kuti atevedzere zviringe zvaparurwa nelocal authority yekoko even kuburikidza neministry of health. But hurumende tichikurudzira kuti ngaiuye itsanangurire vanhu kuti sei lockdown yaiswa. Pamwe pacho tinopedzera takuda kungoblema macitizens kuti havasi kuteerera zvinotaurwa nemalocal authorities kana nehurumende, but vanhu vasina information. Muri kunzwa mukombo? Ngandei kuvanhu ngativape information vanzwisise kuti kana takuti takuvhara guta tikuvharira guta nyaya dzakadai 2-3 dzakadai so kana pasina kutsanangura ikoko munoona kuti kazhinji kacho vanhu vanoita senge vasingateereri but vanenge vachida kutoteerera because hapana munhu asingazive kuti covid yakauya ichiparadza upenyu ikachinja mararamiro atinoita.
All right. Well, Mr. Samuel Wadzai, thank you so much for taking time out to join us on our program today. We really appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, my brother. And I really appreciate for the opportunity. We need these spaces to informal traders.
Of course. We appreciate it. So, Muria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from Samuel Wadzai. He's the executive director of VZET. Now, whilst on the discussion of the COVID-19 lockdown and, of course, achieving herd immunity, the World Health Organization recently released an explainer of how people can prevent themselves from contracting COVID-19, even if you're living in an area whereby the COVID-19 has been detected and it is a hotspot. Let us take a look at that clip that we have, courtesy of the World Health Organization's Twitter page.
3 factors can help you make safe choices when you're in an area of widespread COVID-19 transmission. Consider the location, the proximity to others, and the amount of time you spend there. Where does your activity take place? Open air spaces are always safer than enclosed spaces, particularly if they're small or without fresh air. Proximity to other people is also important. It's safest when there are fewer people around and you can keep more than 1 meter apart. How long does your activity last? The shorter, the better. Think about each of these factors and avoid situations where the risk dial is high. Small or poorly ventilated places and crowds of people for long periods of time. Stay safe. Lower the risk to yourself and others.
Well, Zimbabwe muhleli liaison abenhlanganiso ye-World Health Organization bathi stay safe, observe social distancing by all means necessary. Now let's head over to my third and final guest before we head over to my interview with a recording artist, Pablo Cartel. Joining us live via telephone from Zimbabwe is Vusumuzu Mkwananzi. He is the founder of Mairana, a young entrepreneur who has done a lot of work to uplift different communities within Zimbabwe. Mr. Mkwananzi, welcome to the program, Chief. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's always great having you on the show. And each time we have you on the show, you've always done something new, something amazing, which is really awesome. Let's delve into it. Now, recently in Mashonaland West, you are part of well, not you, but you as a young entrepreneur actually drilled a borehole to help one of the communities. Tell us more about that.
Thank you so much. I just also, I like the discussion that you're having about COVID-19. So one of the things that we noticed is that people need access to clean water. So you notice at the moment right now it's a very good opportunity for many entrepreneurs and many people to take part in helping people to access clean water, because the cost of drilling borehole has really come down significantly at the moment in the country. So we thought, okay, we could have more impact if we provided water and ensure that communities have access to clean water. It means that people can do gardening, they can do planting of trees and many different things.
Now, let's talk a little more about that part. I guess the initiatives that you're doing which target uplifting these different communities. Why go through all that? Why not just be what a lot of entrepreneurs are, come into the space, create a demand for a service and get your money and leave? Why be in a space whereby you have to uplift the community?
Thank you. As a starting point, I think I am who I am because some people took a chance and they also, like I grew up having people pay for my fees. Even where I stay right now myself, we treat a board, we put a tap outside so communities have access to water from our place. I believe as an entrepreneur, you can't just be about profit. I'm also inspired by people like Steve Mastia. If you really follow him, he does say even when you had a small company, you start building onto the culture of helping people. I don't believe that we should be a business just merely for profit only. I think that we should have an impact in the community. So that's why we do some of the things that we do.
Now, let's talk a little more about what your organization has managed to do for these people. If we look at a lot of cities across the whole of Zimbabwe, the challenge of water is a big issue across all cities. And so you being able to provide that for people of Mashonaland West, that's a big thing. Aside from this borehole that you've now drilled and dug, what more are you looking to do for these people of Mashonaland West?
Well, look, we're not building a company just for Zimbabwe alone. We're building a company for Africa and the region. I think one of the things that you want to respond to need with action. I think I like the words of Nelson Mandela where he says, action without vision is only passing time, or vision without action is merely daydreaming, but vision with action can change the world. So sometimes I think sometimes as leaders, at different spheres, there are a lot of things that we can do that really can impact and they don't really cost that much. It's a sacrifice that we do really have to come into play. Right now, there are a lot of children who are not going to school. People don't have access to jobs. But just taking one action can completely create a whole lot of value chain. It can really change communities. So for me, I think that's one of the most important things that as entrepreneurs we should focus on. Especially right now, water is one of the things that we could take advantage of. Education is also one of the things that we should also be having a look at as entrepreneurs. Just that one child that you can help, that's just that one community that you can at least start somewhere and keep on pushing.
All right. Well, unfortunately, time has run out. Mr. Mkwananzi, we really appreciate the work that you're doing in your different communities. I found it really important to bring you here to spotlight the work that young people such as yourselves are doing. But thank you so much, and God bless you for this amazing work that you're doing in your separate communities.
Thank you so much for having us. We didn't really expect it, but we really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, Zimbabwe Muhle Zimbabwe, you heard there from Vusumuzi Mkwananzi. He's the founder of My Arana. Check them out on Facebook. They're also on Twitter and Instagram. If you're looking to find out more information on the organization, and of course, if you're looking to get in touch with Vusumuzi Mkwananzi. Now, as we wrap up tonight's show, Muhle Zimbabwe, I'd like to highlight some Zimbabwean talent. Tonight on The Connection, we're joined by recording artist Pablo Cartel. We speak about his latest single titled Ngifuna Wena. Enjoy.
Hey. Ngifuna Wena is a different approach that I took. I've been listening to a lot of amapiano, so this time I try to use that into my own work. So I try to look for a topic that has been trending a lot, and it's like I said the last time, I want to be a social commentator, So I heard a story. Actually, I saw it in the newspaper about a guy from Masvingo who killed himself over a partner that had cheated. So I try to apply that to my own scenario, that if somebody cheated on me or somebody cheated on someone who is in my community, what they've done. So it's more of, it's along those lines. And I wanted to make it a little bit approachable to the older people and also to my generation, my friends and my classmates and everyone who's around me.
I'm a big fan of learning culture, learning languages, because it shows diversity, it shows interest in wanting to learn more about other people, which is something you did with the song, Ngifuna Wena. You actually going out there and learning Ndebele. I found that really amazing, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. What motivated that?
The name Cartel comes from being an advocate for unity. So, it's not a feud as such, but there's that bit of some tension between the Ndebele and the Shona people. And I wanted to bring both cultures in one song, such that people in Bulawayo can listen to my song and they can appreciate that I appreciate them. People in Harare can also listen to my song. So I learned Ndebele for 2 weeks. A schoolmate of mine named Ola Stabile Matanda taught me Ndebele for 2 weeks. And I had to learn the pronunciation, learn the words, and also translating the meaning of the song to English from Ndebele, like Ngifuna Wena, I want you.
Mm-hmm.
It also took me a bit of some time, and making the beat as well. I wanted a beat that would actually speak to the Ndebele people, because in Bulawayo it's the house, the amapiano, and everything. So it was actually a hard song for me, but it was very special because I managed to bring 2 cultures together.
How are people receiving the song? You mentioned the importance of relevance to both generations. You talked about the importance of unifying the culture. How are people receiving this?
Well, people in my community, it has been really hard for them to accept me doing music, because you know how the arts industry and the music industry is associated with indiscipline and all that. So a person hearing that I am 18 and I'm doing music would associate me with other things. So I've really been trying to not portray a character that I don't have. It's actually the character that I have. But I've actually been trying to correct that. I've been moving around in my neighborhood with CDs. I've been knocking, hey, can you please listen to my song? Hey, can you please listen to my song and all that. For the community and, excuse me, my friends and everyone who's surrounding me and people on my social media, they've really been being wowed by what I'm doing, considering my age and everything.
So you've put out Ngifuna Wena. What's next for you? Are you going to be putting out visuals soon, or what's next?
Well, I've been working really hard with my music. I've been working really, really hard, man. I am releasing the Ngifuna Wena official video very soon, the video. And then, God willing, I'm releasing my first project this year. 5 of the tracks are produced by Boy, Chinese-based Zimbabwean producer. So I have a project that is coming with about 8-7 tracks, and then I have this video that I've been working on.
For those that are looking to listen to the song and, of course, watch your other projects, where can they find that info?
They can find me on YouTube. It's Pablo Cartel TV. You can also find me on Instagram. It's official Pablo Cartel.zw, and you can WhatsApp me on 0774 101 378 0774 101 378.
Tichipete yedu hurukure yedu ndanchikumbira kuti muimbiro vanhu muvaitiro solo vanyatsonzwa kuti aiwa mufana anogona kuimba nevoice.
Nomuimba part yacho yeNdebele because handisi muNdebele vanhu vasati kuzviziva.
Ruvatidzwe.
Ungangichiya sithandwa uyazi ngiyafa nqala lungekho sithandwa sami. Ungangichiya sithandwa angikhonisi kulala ngedwa.